Lowell City Council meeting May 12, 2026. Come to order. City prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Prayer. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Counsel Nuon.
Here.
Counsel Robinson.
Here.
Counsel Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Scott.
Here.
Counsel Chow.
Here.
Counsel Dakota.
Here.
Mayor Gitchia.
Here.
Counsel Duran.
Here.
Counsel Liang.
Here.
Counsel McDonough.
Here.
Counsel Mercier.
Here.
11 present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Any moment of silences? Seeing none, we'll move on to Mayor's business. 2.1, communication, remote Zoom participation, motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Chow, seconded by Councilor Dakota. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 2.2, proclamation, Brain Tumor Awareness Month. The City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, by His Honor Eric R. Gitchia, Mayor, a proclamation. Proclamation, Brain Tumor Awareness Month. Whereas Brain Tumor Awareness Month serves as an opportunity to raise public awareness about the signs, symptoms, and impact of brain tumors, while supporting those currently battling this disease and honoring the memory of those we have lost. Now therefore, I, Mayor Eric R. Gitchia, of the City of Lowell, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 as Brain Tumor Awareness Month in the City of Lowell, and encourage all residents to join in raising awareness, supporting patients and families, and promoting efforts towards research, advocacy, and hope. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Scott, seconded by Councilor Rourke. All in favor? Signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 3, City Clerk, 3.1, minutes of the Nonprofit Organization Subcommittee, May 5th. City Council regular meeting, May 5th, for acceptance. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Nuon. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 3.2, vote. Amend council meeting 6/16/2026 and 6/30/2026. Waive full reading and second reading by title. Vote to amend the council meeting in June to be held on the 3rd and 5th Tuesday of the month. Motion to adopt by Councilor Mercier, seconded by Councilor McDonough. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, Mr. Mayor,
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry.
Yeah.
Councilor Rourke.
Maybe I misunderstood, Mr. Mayor. I thought when you and I spoke, it was going to be the 1st and 3rd of the month. That could have been my mistake. But I won't be here for one of the two meetings, so just want to make that. Now, I had thought originally that we were doing the 1st and 3rd. So thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Rourke, I apologize if that was, I thought I said to everyone it was going to be the 3rd and 5th, because the 1st we were leaving open just in case there were any budget hearing stuff that would transfer over. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Counsel Nuon.
Yes.
Counsel Robinson.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Scott.
Yes.
Counsel Chow.
Yes.
Counsel Dakota.
Yes.
Mayor Gitchia.
Yes.
Counsel Duran.
Yes.
Counsel Liang.
Yes.
Counsel McDonough.
Yes.
Counsel Mercier.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. 4, City Council motions. 4.1, Councilor Nuon requests the city manager provide the city council with an update on the raised bridge projects. Seconded by Councilor Robinson. Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I learned a little bit about the raised bridge project tonight, that we now at the design stage, and that after that it's going to go to Mass DOT for approval. So please give us more information, that including the timeline for it. Thanks so much.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 4.2, Councilor Nuon requests the city manager work with the owner project manager to provide the city council with an update on the firehouse project. Seconded by Councilor McDonough. Councilor Nuon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I know that some of the firehouses have been a really deplorable condition, has been for some time, and I know that recently that managers and his team has selected or having owned a project manager. Those firehouses that need to be done, we should really proceed as fast as we can. I'd like to see you also give us a timeline of the project, and also which time a firehouse is going to be starting first, or are they all going to start at the same time? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nuon. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 4.3, Councilor Liang, request the City Council adopt the following motions approved by the Nonprofit Organization Subcommittee. Motion by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor McDonough, to request the city manager provide a report to the council outlining concrete efforts by the city to assist nonprofits with grant applications to ensure compliance with the new federal standards and regulations. 2, motion by Councilor McDonough, seconded by Councilor Mercia, to have the city manager provide a report outlining recent grant application review by the city regarding the process, including all communications involved with the city and nonprofits. Seconded by Councilor McDonough. Councilor Liang.
There is a registered speaker, Mr. Mayor. Rebecca Levino.
Hi. Can you hear me okay? Hi, Rebecca Ledvino, 52 Lawrence Drive, Lowell. I just came real quick. I don't have a lot to say. We had a wonderful meeting. Thank you, Councilors Mercier, Liang, and Councilor McDonough for convening the nonprofit subcommittee. I just wanted to let the council know at large real quick that this was after a couple of months of work and collaboration among many of the nonprofits across Lowell, just in terms, it started off as wondering about the CDBG funding and specifically some of the new restrictive federal language that all grantees, including the City of Lowell and the many nonprofits, would have to comply with in order to be eligible for federal funding. And we're just hoping to continue, starting with these motions, but to continue the conversation with the nonprofit subcommittee and the council at large about how we can work together, understanding the city doesn't have extra cash lying around to hand over to us, but how we can kind of work the systems and mechanisms in place to ensure that we're able to, we, the nonprofits of Lowell, are able to serve the people and serve our mission while not putting anyone at risk for punishment or any vindictive actions from the federal government. So that's just sort of a little background on the conversation. And the Nonprofit Alliance of Lowell will be kind of continuing to convene these nonprofits and come back to you all with more information. But I'm also happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Liang.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Rebecca. So we really had a really nice meeting the other day, but the idea behind the motion is to how can we sustain some of the work, especially with all the instruction from the federal government, about DEI and everything else. How can we work with the nonprofit organization and somehow get some funding for them in a way, collaborating with the city and sustain the program? I'm not sure how that worked, but there should be a way that the nonprofit organization work with the city and continue to improve this partnership throughout the city, because they're doing a lot of good work in the community, and during time like these, there should be additional resources for them. I know it's very restrictive with CDBG, but maybe some other resources that could be available for them. This motion is one by Councilor Mercy and the other one is by Councilor McDonough. So I'll through you, Mr. Manager, and Mr. Mayor, to see if they can go ahead.
Councilor Liang. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we're talking on this subject, maybe it would be wise if Chairman made the report as a report of progress right now, could put it all together in one lump sum here. You want to do that?
I can, I was going to summarize the report, but I can just go if you want.
motion to suspend the rules by Counselor Mercier to take 10.1
Right.
out of order,
That's right.
seconded by Counselor McDonough. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Counselor Liang, if you would like to do 10.1, the Nonprofit Organization Subcommittee, May 5th, 2026. Report.
Thank you. So we began the meeting by having the Nonprofit Alliance and Lowell House Authority know the importance of funding and serving the community. She requests to have monthly meetings and a concrete plan regarding assistance by the city. Deb Collery from the Merrimack Valley Food Bank outlined the many programs they provided in support of the city. She noted the recent denial of application for funding due to language contained in the website. Michael from the River Bend noted that the urgent needs for CDBG funding and recent denial without full review by the federal government. He indicated that the language in the mission statement is compliance in Massachusetts regulation, while Elizabeth Cannon from the Lowell Association of the Blind commented on meeting to review the application focused on the new regulation. She noted that the action of the application focused on the new regulation. She noted that the action of the council block funding was concerned with future funding, while Satia from CMAA noted that the changing guidelines are affecting the federal and state funding. Council Mercier noted surprises as she was under impression that city would assist with the review of the new regulation regarding the federal funding, and that should be happening. Councilor McDonough noted that the changes are frustrating and questioned the action of the city. Mrs. Collery noted that the city did provide that guidance, and her issues was failing to remove the language from 2 years ago in the mission statement. Mr. Espetia noted that the organization concerned and described output to them as city needs to ensure that all are in compliance with federal regulation. Mr. Espetia also noted plan to meet in the middle regarding use of languages of organization to meet federal standard. Mr. Jafar noted changes to the action plan to adjust to the new regulation, and the federal government is monitoring this. Mr. Espetia also noted the need to work with the organization toward compliance. While I know that short funding this year will hurt a lot of people, Councilor McDonough notes the organization said they were blindsided. That indicates a total failure by city, wasting times and money. Motion by Councilor Mercier, second by Councilor McDonough, to request city manager provide report to the council outlining concrete effort by the city to assist nonprofit with grants application to ensure compliance with the new federal standard and regulation. Adopted with roll call. So there's another motion that will also mentioned by Mr. Mayor. Also in closing, Rebecca also mentioned that stressed the importance of funding to provide public support and the need to work together between the city and the nonprofit organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Liang. On the report, Councilor Mercier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, we did have the nonprofit subcommittee, and we had the place packed with nonprofits. Maybe 8 different nonprofit groups came before us, and they said something that shocked me, that although the guidelines were changed and new rules were put in place, made it a lot harder to follow the guidelines, and we simply asked if the city could help the nonprofits. So be that as it may, we sat here, and I apologize because my two colleagues were not on the previous subcommittee as I was, so I had a little bit of more knowledge than they did. I knew this was coming, and maybe it was a surprise to the new people on the council. They didn't know that, so of course I apologized. And then we learned that there was some different things happening, that some had applied late and some had things on their website that shouldn't have been on there, and we didn't know that. But all in all, we made the motion, as you can see, a very important motion, because maybe I can go home and eat a good meal, but there's a lot of people in the city that can't. And we can't, as a city, fund money to help people that are having a hard time or whatever. But nonprofits pick up that slack, and they do a yeoman's job to try to feed the people that need the help the most, and I commend them for that. But when I listened to the radio the next day and heard a person say, oh, Rita Mercier, she's crying for the nonprofits, give all the money to them. That was very cruel. Nowhere in this motion is that saying that. What my motion is saying is simply have the city that knows more than I do assist the nonprofits to go over their application to make sure that they dotted their I's and crossed their T's and didn't leave anything out. Take that off your website, do this or that. That's all we're asking for. They needed help with people that are professional so that they don't get denied, and then the person that suffers is the person that needs the help the most. And I say, no wonder people don't want to run for office. You do what you think is right, and you get your head kicked in. But I can take it. But I don't like people that are having a hard time making ends meet to be out in the cold. I don't like it. So all in all, I hope my colleagues support this, because it says, could we get on the same page next time? That's all I'm asking. They're not asking for much, but they do need some help to oversee it so that they cannot be disqualified, because what's riding on them is a hungry family, and I'm upset when people are hungry. That's the end of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Mercer. Does anybody else have anything to add to the report that was just reported? We're going to go back to the motion in a minute. Councilor Rook.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did watch the subcommittee, and I no problem with the motions. You know, I was surprised by the incredible amount of misinformation that was spoken at that meeting. So I would like to go to our assistant DPD director and ask him directly, what did the city do from the start? Because at the time when this did come out, you know, I was the mayor, and you know, I had asked that the city manager and his team reach out and meet with these nonprofits that were going to apply for these grants. I followed up with Mr. Espartia afterwards just to double check. So I'd like to go to him and ask him just to do a very brief. I know there's a motion that here, but you know, just the subcommittee report we got tonight, you know, had some very wrong things that were in it spoken. So I'd like to go to Mr. Espartia for his recollection, Mr. Mayor.
Assistant City Manager.
Thank you, Councilor, through you, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Manager. So yes, first and foremost, we want to recognize that we also understand the importance of the organizations that we work with. We have worked with them for decades, and this is the very first time that we found ourselves in a very unfortunate situation in dealing with restrictions that were out of our hands. I wanted to clarify, though, that we did work diligently for a period of, 10 months with the organizations, walking them through what this process meant, what were the new regulations, and within that period of time, we also found ourselves in the government shutdown, which prevented us from accessing more guidance from HUD. And to this day, the application guidelines are somewhat clear, and I've shared that documentation with some of the body. What's not clear is the auditing process and reporting process. And it comes, and often it includes communications with organizations, including emails, in which, according to the new regulations, and that's the concern, that it might be up to interpretation, if they find things in an email, things like pronouns, or something that addresses DEI, those organizations might be deemed ineligible for the funding. And so part of the concern was, if we proceed with these applications that may look good in our review, they might hurt the organizations in the long run. So I just want to clarify that. The second one is, we did provide a period of pre-review, so allow them to submit the applications to DPD before the deadline to review and make any updates and recommendations as need be. And unfortunately, we didn't receive many applications in that pre-review period. I think also somebody mentioned that we had sent an email approving the application. That's not how the process worked this year, and that's not how it works. The regulations call for the ultimately body that sends the recommendations to the voting body is the city manager's office, town managers, town administrators, or mayors in some of the cities. What we do is send the recommendations to the manager's office, and then we discuss it with them. In discussing those organizations where the applications looked good in paper as an application on its own, we discussed the concerns that we had, that we recommended to the manager, that those were things in the back of our head that could hurt us in the long run. Things in the reporting process, in the auditing process, in the review process, and the reporting back to the federal government. And I think that unfortunately this came at a rough time, in two fronts. One, the conversations that we're having right now in terms of finances for the city, and two, the timing that it took, precisely because it was so compressed. The amount of meetings that we had to have, the amount of pre-review processes that we went through, the amount of reviews with the city manager's office, that by the time we needed to put it on the vote, because we need to abide by strict guidelines and deadlines from the federal government, that maybe those communications went too fast and it seemed like we were not communicative with them. But we did work with the organizations as hard as we could. I want to commend the team, because this was all the community development team that worked extremely hard with making sure that the organizations got the guidance that we could provide it. Again, I want to clarify that we need a lot of guidance from the federal government, and we haven't received that. And part of that came with the several months that the government was shut down, and also with the reduction of personnel from the HUD office that is supposed to help us. So that might have been part of the challenge, but it was never ill-intended that we would not be funding organizations. We don't want to be part of a group that would remove food from the tables of children of Lowell. We love these organizations. We agree with what they're doing. We cherish what they do, and we have worked with them in the past. And we want to keep working with them. As far as the future, we do plan to spend the summer with some technical assistance to find ways in which we can go around some of the things that we have concerns about. Maybe we can work together with different organizations. Maybe one organization is the lead applicant while others are embedded in that application process. So we don't know fully yet how that's going to work out. It will be part of the technical assistance. We do want to keep working with organizations. We want to make sure that next year, hopefully, we are more clear about what the instructions are from the federal government, and we can fund them again in the upcoming years.
Councilor Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe a suggestion would be, Mr. Manager, could we reach out to our Congresswoman and our senators? As Camilo has stated that the DPD has not received any response to the concerns that the city had. Obviously, I think that would be beneficial in the future for the next application process. But I'm just I'm glad that he had a chance to explain what the city has done, what currently is doing, and what it hopes to do in the future. That may have been beneficial to ask that question of him at the subcommittee meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
McDonough?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I think if we're going to talk about misinformation or being surprised, I appreciate Councilor Mercier apologizing on everybody's behalf at the subcommittee meeting, but I also think it's important right now, and it was talked about at the subcommittee meeting, and perhaps that informs some of the comments that were made by members of the subcommittee. You had a number of nonprofits, and unfortunately now we're in a position where somebody is misrepresenting. And I'm not going to point a finger and say who right now, but somebody's misrepresenting, because we had nonprofit leaders stand up. We had several stand up and say that they received preliminary approval only for it to be taken away a week or two later. We had other nonprofits say, you know, they went to the mandatory workshops, they applied early, they did all of the things that they thought they were supposed to do. I was not on the council yet, but I was at that subcommittee meeting in December when, Mr. Mayor, at that point, I think you were the chairperson of that subcommittee, and a discussion was had, exactly to the point that Councilor Mercier just made, Mr. Mayor, around the city working with nonprofits in order to help them through a confusing and troubling process. And there was an expectation that some nonprofits might not be able to meet those standards, that some might choose not to remain true to a mission statement or whatever. And that was my impression leaving that meeting, is that everybody was on the same page there. When I look at the vote that we took, and this is what I apologized for at the subcommittee meeting, because we voted on it. We voted on it. What I apologized for is that when you look at the CDBG allocation for this year, it's one thing. I'm glad, you know, Mr. Espatia and the DPD, the mandatory work, the workshops and the editing was great, and I'm glad that you guys did it. However, when we got to the end of the process, not one nonprofit in the city of Lowell could receive that money. Not one. Not one. And so we can pat ourselves on the back that we did it, and I'm glad that your department tried. Something went wrong. Something went wrong if not a single nonprofit was able to get there. And I am still confused how, and I'm gonna say it again, how we got to a point where we had leaders of local nonprofits standing at that podium and telling us they received, and if they're lying and they don't have the email, so be it, right? But they're standing there and they're telling us they received preliminary approval from the city, and then we as a council took a vote that didn't have that on there. Oh, you're approved pending council vote. And then our council vote doesn't have their award. And we're told nobody qualified. That's where I'm confused. And I'm not trying to say, Mr. Espatia, you know, anyone was malicious. I'm not, but I think we can say that the city tried, the DPD tried, and we can also acknowledge that something did go wrong if we hit a point where not one nonprofit received a CDBG award other than for the ESG. So I get that the ESG money is there. I'm talking about the rest of CDBG. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor, and it's not a question. Thank you.
Council Scott. Thank you, Council McDonough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess my question in response to that is how many applications did we get for the CDBG funding? And I guess how many of them qualified, or were there reasons they didn't qualify? I guess my understanding was that there were very few applications, which I actually commend the nonprofits for. They basically decided they didn't want to go against their mission, you know, and follow the rules that are being, you know, required by the federal government. Unfortunately, that would put the cities, you know, the onus on us to fund them anyways and take the financial risk. The taxpayers would have to back that risk up. And it was my understanding we chose not to do that. We really can't. I mean, if you look at our financial situation right now, we can't do that. So I kind of feel like this you know, little miscommunication here, where, you know, again, I commend them. They didn't want to change their mission. I think they're going to find this when they also, you know, apply for other federal grants going forward, that they're going to run into issues. So I feel like we're kind of just keep talking about this, but we've made the decision not to take the risk.
There's a question, how many people applied from Council
Yes.
Scott? That's what she's asking. So if we could pass it on to DPD. Could you answer that question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you, Councillor. We had on the social services, we had 3 applications. One of them was the Dwelling House of Hope for 100,000, Lowell Association for the Blind for 50, and St. Paul's Food Bank for 50. Again, with the caveat that, you know, at the end, the reporting process would not have guaranteed that we could actually get reimbursed for those funds. But there were 3 applications on the social services part.
Council Scott.
Sorry, and my question around the funding for those 3, were they not eligible?
That's no. That's the 3 applications that look good on paper that went through the next phase, which is the city managers vetting and editing of the list. That's probably the 3 organizations that we told the application looks good on paper as a preliminary step, not as an approved application. Did that answer the question?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Scott. Council McDonough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say to Councilor Scott that I actually fully agree with you, and it's why I was so caught off guard at that nonprofit subcommittee meeting. My understanding was that we didn't get applications, that nonprofits said they didn't want the money. And so then when we were presented with both the Nonprofit Alliance of Greater Lowell and then also representatives from all 3 of those groups, in addition to a whole slew of other nonprofits in the chamber who said, actually, no, we did go through an application process and try to get this money, it was confusing. That's I guess where the miscommunication or the question comes is, I agree with you, but prior to this nonprofit subcommittee meeting, I was telling people, I'm really proud of all the nonprofits in the city. They said, we're true to our mission statement, we're not going to apply for the money. So then to have one of them, the Lowell Association for the Blind, to have the Lowell Association for the Blind standing at the podium and say, we applied for this money, we scrubbed, we went to the workshop, we did all the things we were going to do, we got a preliminary approval, and then nothing. I'm sorry, you don't get the money. And I felt that's all I have. So sorry, Vice Mayor Nuon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I just have a question to DPD. When was the application actually due? The final application due to your office that needed to be submitted?
Thank you, Councillor. I don't remember, but I do have the director of the community development team that can answer that.
Elliot, yeah.
Perfect.
You want to call on the mic?
Please come to the podium.
Please.
It was so basically what the process was the last Friday of January, I forget what the date was when the drop date, the final deadline was, but then the week prior, we basically told organizations that they could apply, send their applications in that previous week so we could check it. So that's whatever that date was in January. I'm not really sure what date that was off the top of my head, but maybe the 29th or something like that. The 30th. The 30th. So that's when the final deadline was.
Okay, thank you. So on the 23rd, did you review everybody, all 3 of the applicants that applied?
So there were some applications at that point. We got about 4 or 5. There were some applications that weren't approved. We got 2 of the applications that were eligible at that point, and then the third one came after the deadline.
Okay, so you had an opportunity to review them all.
Correct.
Did any of the ones that you reviewed get okayed at your process?
Yes, there were the two of them that eventually made it to the next round, if that's what we want to call it, through the process, were eligible to go there. There wasn't any issues. There was one of the organizations was missing some documentation, but nothing with regards to the federal guidelines that were an issue.
So that means you went through their websites, you went through everything, and at that point, everything was okay?
Correct.
So then how did we find the mistake afterwards?
So one of the organizations, we did let them know that there was an issue. So they actually sent us documentation after they made the change that they mistakenly put in there. It was not their website. It was actually one of their job descriptions that they had. That wasn't necessarily on the website, but they added in by mistake. And at that point, we weren't able to basically let them know, because it wouldn't be fair to the other organizations as well after that original deadline.
So did you find the problem, or did they submit the problem afterwards, after the deadline? That's what's confusing to me. If you went through everything and everything was clear, how did we find it afterwards and deny them? Who found that and why?
So they provided the documentation, one of the documentations after we told them originally that they needed to edit something on their application. It was just unfortunately mistakenly, they added the document by mistake when they scanned it over.
Okay, so they added something at the end. Why didn't we just remove it from it at that point before the application process was finished? That's, I guess, the point. When we met as a nonprofit subcommittee on December 15th, all of us were in the same place. We wanted to make sure anybody, as Councilor Scott said, that wanted to apply had the opportunity to apply, and we would outline and help them, and we would scrub everything before it went out to make sure it all met the right place. And I believe, Elliot, you were there.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so that was the purpose of the whole subcommittee. And we were going to meet in between December 15th and the deadline to make sure everything was on pat. We never met in between, and we were under the understanding, I think it was Councilor Nuon, myself, Councilor Mercier, and Councilor Robinson, who were part of that subcommittee and wanted to make sure, no matter what, DPD was going to scrub every single thing and make sure that anybody who wanted to apply would meet the qualifications. I think that's what everybody's point was before we left there. And if something came in before the deadline was going to be sent, why wouldn't we have just removed it and helped them with the application process? And why did we deny them after the fact? That's really the hard part to look at. If we're going to do this, why did we meet at all if we were just going to look and say, hey, you know what, you didn't meet the qualifications? The sole purpose of that meeting, I believe, was to try to help anybody who actually wanted to apply. The others, I agree with Councilor Scott. I agree with them. If you didn't want to apply and that's your mission, then that's fine. But we were here to try to make sure everybody's application, everybody's website, all the job descriptions, everything was in line with the application process, and the least amount of numbers that you got would make it easier for us to scrub it. And I thought, and one of the people who are on that committee can correct me if I'm wrong, that's why we did it a month in advance. We were all, you can review the tapes. I don't understand how somebody came back and said that something didn't meet the qualification after the deadline, when we reviewed it before the deadlines, and then we're the ones who reviewed it after the deadlines. So that's my only take on the whole thing. Is it seems like we didn't really help anybody. They could have just left everything the way it was. Why did we put them through all that work? Why did we make them go see seminars and everything if we weren't going to be the people to help them? And I thought that's what we were talking about. I'm not sitting here crying. I'm not sitting here saying anything. I'm just saying I thought that's what we were here for. But I think you have an answer.
Mr. Councilor, through you, Vice Mayor, thank you so much. So yes, there is a process of the application where we can tamper the applications. We can simply modify them at our will to submit them at the end to HUD. The other thing is that through this process, in finding that there was some documentation in some of these applications, and finding that in some of the hidden parts of their website or in any other publication that they may have, that we could have found these things. That's when we thought this looks good in the application process. We went through the city manager's office for them, but we didn't know if ultimately, if we kept digging, we were going to find these things that would deem them ineligible. Again, we did this for two reasons: to avoid the city being liable for this funding if it's not reimbursable, and ultimately maybe even the organizations themselves, because we might run into these agreements with them, but if it's something that the federal government finds on their website, on a communication, that we did not dig further, they may not be eligible for the reimbursement.
We all understood that on that night. Okay, let's not kid anybody. Tamper with applications. We were here asking you to review the applications. If there was a problem on December 15th with anybody helping anybody, what you call tampering, I call helping. But if you're saying you're going to tamper with it, why wasn't it said that night that we can't help you with the application? I don't understand what tampering means if it's before a deadline, when you say, hey, look, something came in, this doesn't make sense, change it. We were never told on December 15th you couldn't review an application and not tell someone to make a change. And now we're calling it tampering after somebody got disqualified from it. I just don't think the process was fair as I outlined it in that nonprofit subcommittee. And you can review the tapes. If we weren't going to help, we should have just said, hey, look, we can't help you with the application. Here's the regulations. We're out of here. But that wasn't what we did. We said we were going to help you right up to the deadline and look at everything with you. Mr. Elliott, was that your understanding of the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, unfortunately, because of the whole lack of guidance from HUD and that we need to get the annual action plan, I mean, it was a little bit of a rush process, but we also did give the organizations a deadline of January 23rd to submit it, because after that point, if they submitted it on the 30th, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to review it. So all the applications that we would have received by the 23rd, we did review it. Unfortunately, that one organization submitted something after we reviewed it. But
Was after you review it before the 23rd deadline?
no, it was after the 23rd deadline.
Okay, so if that was set up front, then there's your answer. Somebody submitted it after the deadline. It was never included in the deadline. Right? If it's after the 23rd was the deadline, then...
Correct. Yes,
after the-
I understand. Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Councilor Rook?
I think, Mr. Vice Mayor, I can give you an example that has nothing to do with the city. When I was the mayor, the Alternative House approached me asking to sign on to a grant of $500,000. And after calling ethics and getting the okay through my day job, the Massachusetts Probation Service signed on to it as well. We had 2 different legal teams look at the application to HUD, sent it in, and it was denied within 24 hours. So, it's what we're dealing with currently with the federal government, and hopefully in the future we can get some guidance back. But $100,000 can mean a lot to a nonprofit, but $500,000. And if you had Maria here from the Alternative House, she would tell you how that decimated their nonprofit, over the course of almost 18 months now. So this is not, just to the city of Lowell, but it's what we're dealing with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Nuon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the December last year meeting subcommittee, we know that this year CDBG is going to be really restrictive from the federal government. We know that that's coming. At that meeting, we urge DPD to work with the nonprofit, help them. Those who want to still apply, and those who's not, really, as Councilor Scott said, there are those who are firm in their mission statement, and usually the bigger organization, they said, I'm not going to change my value, my mission. So they didn't bother apply. But those who choose to apply because it's a small organization, they do need that money. We tell DPD at the time that please work with those organizations to meet the requirement. I know it's a challenge not just for the organization, the nonprofit, but for DPD itself, because this is the first time that a restrictive or directive from the federal government say, look, this is the language, this is some of the things that we do not want to see from a nonprofit. If they have any of that, then tell them, forget about applying. What bothered me is the mayor mentions that there are those who are after first stage, they move on to the second stage, and then just about the stage to okay the application, and we said, nope, forget about it. I hope, I'm not sure if anything we can do about it now that we already approved those who already get those grants. I hope that we learn something. I hope that in the future that we do a better job in helping, working with those nonprofits, because truly they are our partner. We can't exist all by ourselves. We need everyone around us to make our city a better city. Serve all the people that need those services. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nuon. Councilor Liang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We all have to also understand that these applications takes a lot of manpower and times and resources, putting our head together into designing programs, coming up with budgets, and ultimately, at the end, it's the people that need the services. So Mr. Espetia mentioned that there was 3 that was potentially that could go or went to the second round. So my question is to the city managers. Has this 3 ever reached your desk, or what happened, or has it gone into another level?
Manager Golden?
Thank you, Councilor. Through you, Mr. Mania, through you, Mr. Mayor. Are you asking if they reached out after the fact?
No. You said there was 3 applications
Yes.
that passed these
The first
criteria,
round, yeah,
right? The
right.
first round and going to the next round.
Correct.
So who was deciding this next round, looking at this application, and ultimately said, you
final
don't
round?
make it?
That's the city manager's office with our counseling.
Manager Golden?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Thank you, Council. We were looking at the ESG money that we could give out and the liability on the other monies. We've talked about the liability portion of it. Could we have done a little bit more? Possibly, but I think that, as Mr. Yaffred stated earlier, we're working under a time constraint within this. It's very possible that we may have been able to fund these things, but it's also it's very possible that we would have been held liable at the end of the day. So we did, in my recollection, we erred on the side of caution on this. In the future, CDBG monies we've looked at in this chamber as trying to put more money into some of the programs here in the city, but also the caution about what the potential liability with what is going on with the federal government, that it probably could have went either way, Councilor, if that's the best question. And we chose, I chose to go a more conservative route on that.
Thank you, Councilor Liang. Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. Through you to the manager. When the council voted to approve the CDBG funding, I remember the conversations, and there was some optimism that the way the CDBG was voted in, that potentially we'd be able to work with some of them and find other ways to help assist in the efforts that they're providing the resources to the community. Is that still an option? That the 3 applicants that were in compliance pretty much, hopefully, will there be some mechanism that the city will be able to creatively come up with to assist, at the very least, the ones that we found were right there on the cusp of compliance?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. We have not closed the door on any of those potential opportunities at this time. We've, to be quite frank with you, Mr. Yaffe has been looking to meet with us. We've just been a little tied up with the budget and stuff like that, but we have not closed any opportunities for the future of CDBG monies.
And that will be possibly for this fiscal year, there could be some kind of...
That would be my hope. That'd be correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. Councilor Duran?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a tough position all around because we're dealing with the uncertainty of what the federal government how they might interpret anything that could be way hidden down in people's websites. I think the challenge of trying to scrub everything for the organizations or for the reviewers is almost impossible. And I view that from my position as someone who's rather risk averse. So I can appreciate that. I would love, but I also understand that organizations have moved through the process with the expectation that there'd be at least the possibility of a positive outcome. So it's a tough situation. I watched the subcommittee meeting twice to try to really understand everything that was going on and the various perspectives. That said, one thing that would be helpful, not necessarily to guide us, but to just give us some insights, is how are other gateway cities, that is, communities without a lot of money, interpreting the HUD guidelines? Because they're dealing with the same issues as we are. And not that I'm saying we should, follow the leader or go down a particular path, but if it were the case that everybody else is, going forward without any concern, that would be an important data point to consider. If others are taking different positions, that's important to think about. So that would be helpful for me to understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Councilor Liang, seconded by Councilor Duran. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
So, Mr. Mayor, we have two motions here, and I would like to
Let me
request
finish
a
this.
roll call.
Let me just, you want a roll call on this one? On the report of progress, or you want it on the motion? Okay, so we're on the report of progress. You suspended to go there, so let's finish that, then we'll go back to it.
All right.
Thank you. Motion to accept, we already did that. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Going back to 4.3, Councilor Mercia would like a roll call on 4.3. And what's the second motion that was on this?
Well, Council.
Both motions, yeah.
Two motions.
Yeah, but it's just a roll call on
Yeah, so
4.3.
4.3 is on there, so it's not on both motions. It would just be on 4.3 as advertised, so.
Yep, it'll cover both motions.
Yep, so roll call.
Yes.
Counselor Nuon.
Yes.
Counselor Robinson.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke. Counselor Scott.
Yes.
Counselor Chow.
Yes.
Counselor Dakota.
Yes.
Mayor Getchia.
Yes.
Counselor Duran.
Yes.
Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor McDonough.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. 4.4, Councilor Scott requests the city manager to have DPD hold a community forum for residents to provide input around data center zoning, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did incredible work, I believe, around the moratorium, putting a pause on this so that we can have, discussions around proper planning and the zoning. I just want to see that work begin. I don't want a year to go by, us not to have things that we know we should have, proper setbacks, landscaping requirements, et cetera. And most importantly, the residents, they feel like they weren't listened to in the past. So I think it's a first step is for us to hold this community forum and to hear what their concerns are. Thank you.
Councilor McDonough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to ask, I know I'd asked you, Mr. Mayor, kind of on the phone at one point, but I'll kick the question out again at a public meeting. Does the mayor or the council, I guess broadly, I appreciate Councilor Scott's motion. I think DPD would be great to hold a community forum. Do we think that like an ad hoc subcommittee or something, it's a one-year moratorium, it's been several months, we are on a ticking clock. There's a component of the council having a responsibility here and kind of crafting and approving whatever this final regulation winds up being. Just a suggestion.
Councilor Scott.
Well, we do have a zoning subcommittee, so that would be an option for that discussion. But, okay, so, sorry.
Councilor McDonough.
Thank you. That's true. I think my thought on ad hoc versus on zoning was that zoning currently has the overall zoning review and audit, and that there is a really significant amount of public care on the data center issue and there's a neighborhood subcommittee, there's a zoning subcommittee. At the end of the day, it's going to wind up going in the zoning code, so I could see the zoning subcommittee being appropriate. I think I was trying kind of to give the opportunity to counselors who maybe aren't on the zoning subcommittee but might care a good deal about this one particular issue, where there seems to be a good number of meetings that will be coming up focused entirely on the data center piece. That was really my only thought, but I'm open to anything.
Thank you, Councilor McDonough. Councilor Duran.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So back on March 24th, Councilor Scott and I put on a motion to ask the city manager to have the appropriate departments provide a draft plan for fulfilling the requirements regarding the work to be done during the data center moratorium and to share updates at least every 2 months. So we're not quite at the 2-month point, but we're getting there. And so I would expect to see a report by the 26th of May. I also, my only concern about having a subcommittee is it's hard enough to schedule any subcommittees right now. And especially as we go into the summer, it's going to be even harder. So I would just be cautious about that. Although I don't know how we're going to manage the community input either. So confused.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. Councilor Chow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I commend Councilor Scott for putting this motion forward and all her work to get the neighborhood voice heard. I was wondering also, there's a state component to this, a mass DEP component to this, and whether this go through a subcommittee or definitely the neighborhood meeting. I wonder through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager, if it'd be possible to invite a member of the mass DEP to come to attend the meeting as well. There is a state component to this that they're involved in addition to the city permitting and so forth, if that would be possible.
Manager Colden?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Chow. Councilor Rook.
I guess my suggestion, Mr. Mayor, would just be have it at the Butler School, one of the monthly meetings, more people could show up, it'd be easy to get there. I mean, this seems to make sense.
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 4.5, Councilor Scott requests the city manager to have the law department prepare the necessary steps to allow driveway curb cuts beyond the current 15-foot maximum allowed in the traditional single-family zones. Seconded by Councilor Rook. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So right now, you can have a 15-foot wide curb cut in traditional single family. You can have a 20-foot wide curb cut in suburban single family. So in some neighborhoods, you can have, even if your zoning is larger in a traditional single family, your frontage, it's still limited to the 15-foot curb cut. So I would ask that it either goes to 20 across the board, or that they base it on, I guess, the frontage maybe of the property, take some consideration for that. What we're seeing throughout my neighborhood are 15-foot curb cuts fanning out to 4-car wide driveways, but people aren't using the driveway because you can't park 2 cars side by side. So people have to leave for work in the morning. You have 4 vehicles, they're parking out in the street. So I think this is a solution, at least a bare minimum, to look at whether or not it could be allowed for properties that have enough square footage. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Scott. Councilor Duran.
Thank you very much. I appreciate Councilor Scott's explanation of the reason for it, because I was curious about it. And the question I had was because this affects districts throughout the city, because many of them have traditional single family within them. How would it impact parking? So we know how it impacts parking for those who are now parking on the street, but what will it do generally? So I just think as we think about this, the parking implications, on the street, in the driveway, wherever, need to be considered. So that it shouldn't be an assumption that it should be expanded, but we should just think about which is the best approach throughout the city. Thank you.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 4.6, Councilor Scott requests the city manager provide an informational update on the Barica and Woburn Street culvert replacement. Seconded by Councilor Nuon. Councilor Scott.
Thank you. The motion speaks for itself.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 4.7, Councilor Duran requests the city manager have MIS department provide information on the major enhancements completed over the last 2 years and plan for the next 2 years to public-facing IT systems, including Lowell GIS, 311, and other systems, and how such enhancements and plans are communicated to the public, including when functionality is reduced. Seconded by Councilor Dakota. Councilor Duran.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So the city has made significant strides in moving forward with the 311 system and other tools, and residents are starting to use those tools and have been using them. And some residents are really expert users and find that they can do a lot of analysis with the information, but then suddenly some of the information disappears. And so far, that disappearance, at least as it's been communicated to me, has all been reverted. There were probably things going on behind the scenes that needed some software to be taken down temporarily. I know that was true on the 311 system with someone who was looking at some point for rat activity, but it's now back. I ran into it with the GIS system where the maps were unavailable one day, but they were available later. And I think it's great that the systems are being enhanced, but I think it would be helpful to know what's coming down the pike. And certainly if things are being removed even temporarily, if there could be some notice other than, I forget the cute little bot that's on there, but that other than something that just says, you've gone to a bad place, that would be helpful in terms of customer service. I think it is great that people are using the system so much. And it took me, though, a while. It took me actually one of the residents to show me how to run the filters on the 311 system. And I have used computers for a number of years. So I think thinking about, the user interface and the ease of use and or ways that we can help communicate to people how best to use the systems would be great. And finally, I think the 311 system itself could have additional categories of concerns, like how you might improve the 311 system. Might be in and of itself an issue that could be added. So again, I think lots of progress has been made, so it'd be good to hear about it and good to hear what the plans are. Again, generally, I'm not trying to allow cyber attacks with that, but just general information, but also trying to convey that the ease of use and user interface is important to keep in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 4.8, Councilor Duran requests the city manager have the parking department provide information about the rules regarding residency-based parking placards, including how issued, what happens when one is lost, how enforced, how replaced if lost, etc. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Duran.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So I have found that I think parking is the second biggest issue compared to paving of streets. Residents, including me, have various questions about the residential parking placards. I know, for instance, I was shopping in Back Central, and there was an expired placard on a house where there was a perfect spot right out front, but I don't feel comfortable parking there because I think the resident probably feels entitled to that space, even though they really aren't legally entitled and they're no longer paying for it. I also have run into residents who have lost a placard. It's just disappeared from their home. And so they need to understand how to go get a new one and what they have to pay for it, and whether they're required to pay the entire fee again, and whether that's fair or not when the loss was out of their control. It actually raised the question as to whether people are stealing placards from one home and sticking them on another just to get a free parking space. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, and I probably shouldn't have suggested it to anybody. But I think everybody would benefit from understanding the processes. And back in March, we got a detailed flow chart about how deep the city thinks about paving streets, et cetera, and maintaining streets. I'm not necessarily asking for a similar flow chart, but again, any kind of information about how the processes work, especially one that it can be conveyed to residents who then might either find ways to improve it or clarify it, I think would be great. And one thought that came up was that maybe there could be a map or a database that just lists the address of each of the placards. Not information about who lives there or anything else, but just which ones are valid, so that people could find out if they're allowed to really park there or not, especially if an expired one is there. So just thinking about how we can improve, parking generally and particularly around placards is my topic today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. Councilor Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate Councilor Duran's motion. I do want to applaud the administration, though, because what Assistant City Manager Machado is with his community walks and the reports that we were getting, that they've taken a lot of the expired placards away from the porches, and I think that's a good start. But I do agree with Councilor Duran's other comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dakota. It's Councilor McDonough.
Thank you. And I also thank Councilor Duran for the motion. I guess, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, or perhaps Councilor Duran, we'll find out. My add-on request for this motion, kind of informally, is I'm really looking forward to the council getting these rules and it going into an agenda packet, and then it being very difficult to ever find for a member of the public by clicking through and getting to a packet and getting the link and finally seeing it. I know a number of people that live, the three examples off the top of my head are all actually in Lower Centerville, who have tried to get a parking placard, and they think, they look at the city website quickly, they think they have everything they need, they go down to the parking department and they find out, nope, sorry, that's actually the wrong version of the form, you need Form B. And I'm not faulting anybody, it's annoying, it's how bureaucracy works, and checking boxes to make sure we get forms, and we all have to do it. But if we could, I know a couple of people that have they've had to go to the parking office 3 or 4 times in order to try and get oh no, we need this water bill. Okay, nope, that's the wrong month, we need this one. It's just a way on the city website, ideally on the parking website, before we're getting to the parking office to make sure, you do actually have all of the forms in order and can get that placard. Maybe we need to expand the list of accepted documents, I'm not sure, but that's all I got. So otherwise, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonough. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in response to that, I did ask in the past about us having the availability of getting these permits or these stickers online to order them. I don't think we ever got a response on it. You should be able to upload the documents and do it. I mean, to everybody that has these across the city, to go every year to the parking office, it's just, that's a lot to ask, I think. I think this should be an easy process done online every year. We'd probably get a lot more of them, renewing as well, a lot more revenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Scott. Councilor Liang.
Yes, I do agree with that. I mean, especially when you have to renew and bring all the paperwork again and again. Thank you, Councilor Duran, for this motion. I do agree, especially for me as well, where the two most pressing issues are potholes and parking. So I do agree with that. But I also thank Assistant Manager Machado for doing the placard, taking away. But I disagree with outlining places where people can look into and park. That would be creating chaotic issues in the community where, you just go online, you would say, hey, that house has a parking spot where I can just go and park because it's expired. That might be a little bit too extreme in a way. But I do agree that it needs to be more simplified and so that the resident can understand. And the process of getting these placards shouldn't be that difficult, going downtown. If you can just do it, online, that would be much easier to do. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Liang. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 4.9, Councilor Duran requests the city manager have the proper department provide an update on any planned closings of Douglas Road for electric work to the flood relief tank and how residents will be notified of any detours. Seconded by Councilor Chow. Councilor Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In March, we approved easements across Douglas Road for National Grid to do electrical work for Cawley Stadium. So I assume that at some point for that or maybe other reasons, Douglas Road will need to be closed and residents who would like to just be given notice ahead of time. And there are a lot of people who use that road anyway, so it will be, it's an important thoroughfare, so that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 4.10, Council McDonough requests the city manager have the appropriate department provide an update on Canal Bridge and walkway repairs, especially the sidewalks at the intersection of Market and Dutton, the Canal Bridge on Broadway over Weston Canal, and the canal walkway through the HCID. Seconded by Councilor Nuon. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would also like to add, as Councilor Dakota pointed out at the beginning of the meeting, Bridge Street over by Arthur's Diner has also had some concrete barriers up for longer than I care to count. This is not in any way a knock or even a really big question. It's just something that I am asked about constantly, and I ask myself quite often on walks as well. I know, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, I know that there's been an ongoing issue with Market and Dutton Street, and there's been, I think, issues around steel pricing and no, maybe, I don't know. There's been a big issue with that particular bridge. One of my two biggest concerns, and I know someone in downtown will be mad at me because they care very passionately about the Market and Dutton Street Bridge, and I do too, is the holes in the fences on the canal walkways and the bridges. As somebody with an almost 2-year-old who walks to Market Basket, that bridge over Western Canal has a piece of plywood that is now peeling off. I don't know if it got hit with a snow removal equipment or what, but I mean, it's a full-on little 5-year-old sized hole. And then additionally, I know there might be issues of ownership because the national park and the state have some land around HCID, but we have the spot where the car unfortunately went in HCID. The car went into the canal, a person lost their life. There is a hole in the fence over there as well. I don't actually even know who owns that fence, but I think an update from you would help assuage some residents and know that we're moving in the right direction. So thank you.
Manager Golden.
Thank you very much, Council. If it's okay with you, some of this is going to overlap with 4.1, Councilor Nuon, as well. We have asked the delegation to look at Bridge Street as well, in front of Arthur's Diner, to see if that could be next. But this is 4.10 and 4.1 are kind of overlapping as far as some of the, I believe it's 21 million raised bridge. So if we can kind of bring those together, and we'll try to get your full accounting of everything that's happening with our bridge work. That's okay.
Thank you, Manager Golden. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 4.1, Council McDonough requests the city manager have the proper department look into the feasibility of enhancing safety features such as road markings and/or signage in the area of Martin, Sparks, and Riverside Street. Seconded by Council Liang. Council McDonough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This was something that came up when I was door knocking during the campaign. I don't actually spend all that much time on Martin and Sparks, but something that was, really good news to both sides of Beaver Brook when it came online is that the bridge over Beaver Brook, which is phenomenal. The kind of unintended consequence in that part of the city is that the university has a very large parking lot that is dominated by commuter students because that's not a residential campus, and many have now learned about the magic of the Beaver Brook Bridge. And so what used to be a fairly quiet street and a fairly quiet intersection, because the only option if you were going to leave the city of Lowell was to turn left, get on Riverside, and leave, you can now turn right and really let it rip. I don't know how else to phrase what I saw as I tried to walk along the side of that road. And so I'm very happy the bridge is there. I think everyone's happy the bridge is there. I think just now that people know it's a cut through, taking another look at some safety features over there may help. I'm not looking necessarily for speed bumps or anything. It's an unlined road. There's not a whole lot of stop signs. The other piece is the intersection of Martin and Sparks, partially due to the increased traffic. So as Martin comes up, there's kind of a triangle intersection. And because the traffic has now increased with kids late to class, letting it rip, all the way into that parking lot, there's increased kind of unease, I'll say, and I think the traffic engineer is very good at finding out if the unease is justified or not. There's increased unease with the nature of that intersection where the stop is, there's some sightline questions. People stop in all sorts of fun places between at the stop sign to 10 feet in front of the stop sign. That's all. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonough. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 4.12, Councilor Rourke, Councilor Roberts requests the City Council remove the following items from the table. Wire Inspector Report. 1, Boston Gas requests permission to replace existing cast iron gas main at 24 to 360 Gorham Street. 2, Boston Gas requests permission to replace existing cast iron gas main at 67 to 94 Kinsman Street. And 3, National Grid requests permission to install underground electric conduit at 50 Draper Street. Motion to remove from the table by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Roll call.
Counselor Nuon.
No.
Counselor Robinson.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
Counselor Scott. Counselor Chow.
Yes.
Counselor Dakota.
Yes.
Mayor Getchia.
No.
Counselor Duran.
No.
Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor McDonough.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Motion, underlying motion to accept and adopt the accompanying order.
Mr. Mayor.
Now, on the motion, since there's 2 people, we don't need a second on the motion. Councilor Rourke, you made the motion.
Just to know, if now you take the.
Yeah, we're going to take the regular thing up now. Councilor Rourke.
Also, thank you.
Councilor Robinson. Councilor Nuon.
Mr. Mayor, we were clear a couple meetings ago. In this council, everyone's okay to send a message to National Grid, Boston Gas, and say this, that any future matter coming before the board, before this council, maybe they have the answer, but we want them to explain to us as to why they chose to replace it instead of repair it. That's all we want to know. The reason we want to know is this. They're going to put it on ratepayer tax. I mean, those people who paying will increase the cost to our resident. And that's why I'm asking, as simple as that. And I know that they say they're going to come before us. Let them come before us. But we still want an explanation. I'm not going to have them get away with it. Why is it so difficult to explain to us in simple terms on why they want to replace instead of repair? Maybe because it, is in really bad shape. Okay, if that's so, I understand, but explain to us. Send that information to the wire inspector. Maybe it's so many pages, but the wire inspector can summarize to this council why they recommend approval. Is that difficult? It shouldn't be. I'm not here to look out for National Grid or Boston Gas. I'm here to look out for ratepayer, for this resident of the city. I don't give a rat's about the company making money and keep on making money on taxpayer, on our resident. And that's why I'm asking for that.
Councilor Rourke. Thank you, Councilor Nuon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When we took the vote to send it to the wire inspector, the rep from National Grid was here. She answered questions, and she also stated that this would not cost the ratepayer anything extra. I think her line was not a penny. So the rep was here. She did answer questions. I think there were multiple questions asked of the representative from National Grid. She was here in person. We made the vote to send it to the wire inspector, and all we were doing is just, sending it to the wire inspector for approval, which it came back to us. And, these are projects here that, the Gorham Street one, it's a very busy intersection area. Then you have the Jean Dark School that's going to be, for special needs kids. Again, the rep was here. She did answer questions, and I don't see the reason why she would need to be here for the wire inspector report. But just my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rourke. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I share Councilor Nuon's frustration. Why I voted to take this from the table, and I understand being frustrated with National Grid and Colonial Gas. I even understand if we wanted to vote no on the gas main replacement. But there's also item number 3, which is underground electric conduit, which is necessary to get the Jean Dark School open. So, I don't even know if procedurally this is something we can do, but would it satisfy Councilor Nuon if we could separate this out so we can approve the electric conduit and then come what may on the vote on the gas replacement?
I think the issue is they have the vote to pass already. So if you go to this, they're going to vote no, so we're going to be in the same predicament. So the vote's there to pass it right now. So
That's true. Yeah, but I want to vote no on the gas. That's my problem.
you can make a motion if you like.
It's fine.
Thank you, Councilor McDonough. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. Let's be clear for the people at home. As my colleague stated, and you can go back and watch LTC, these specific repairs, not a penny to the taxpayer. I think it was a grant the rep from National Grid said is covering these repairs. Not to mention, we're holding back progress on moving forward on a school that we desperately need, because once that becomes online, again, it opens up and frees up funding amongst many other things for Lowell Public Schools. We've been waiting for quite some time for the electrical piece. And I don't know how comfortable people feel playing Russian roulette with cast iron aging gas mains. This is a zero-cost replacement provided by National Grid. Zero cost to the residents, and they want to play roulette with gas mains. And then we want to start picking and choosing. Well, I don't like gas, so I want to separate this out. I like electricity, I want to separate this out. We need to get this work done. I understand the push for, clean fuel and all of this stuff, but realistically, an aging cast iron gas main that's going to be zero cost to the taxpayer or ratepayer, because this is funded completely separately. As the rep from National Grid came and said, I think us playing the game to try to get more information, I'm all for providing as much information as possible. But I also hope the people that are pushing for this additional information, I hope they're experts in the field, because when they present these 300-page reports on the condition of the pipe that they're moving to want to replace, I hope there's some good professionals out there that are going to be able to analyze these reports when they come back. But as far as these projects specifically, zero cost to the residents, 2 aging cast iron gas mains, and 1 electrical piece that's being worked on to forward progress, a school that we've been trying to get online with partners with Lowell Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. Councilor Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I am definitely not an expert on this, but I have not become an expert either in the last 4 months, because we have gotten very little information from National Grid and Boston Gas, except at one meeting. We have asked, we have in fact a motion response coming up, because we have asked since mid-February for reports and meetings with National Grid in particular, and also Boston Gas in April, to understand the process better, so that we as counselors can do our job about approving these requests, given that we don't have the expertise. So until we get that kind of better understanding, it is hard. All we're doing is just rubber stamping. And I appreciate that some people actually do know this better than I. But until I get more information, I just don't feel like I can move forward with these requests. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you. As my colleague pointed out, we are holding up a school project, and I guess if that's what we're so passionate about, then I will put the motion in. So I would like to make a motion to separate the vote on the Jeanne d'Arc school electrical conduit from the two gas mains.
Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Liang. On Councilor McDonough's substitute motion, Councilor Rourke.
What are we looking for? The representative was here. She answered questions from the council on all three projects. Like, so what do we want to do? Put it off to have her come back again and answer the same questions? Read your packet. I don't know what else to say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Roll call on Councilor McDonough's motion.
Council Nuon.
No.
Council Mercia.
I thought I was voting last.
Sorry. Council Nuon. Council Robinson.
No.
Council Rourke.
No.
Council Scott.
No.
Council Chow.
No.
Council Dakota.
No.
Mayor Gitchia.
No.
Council Duran.
No.
Council Liang.
Yes.
Council McDonough.
Councilor McDonough, someday you're going
Council Mercia.
No.
someday you're
Motion
going to
fails.
Councilor Nuon, Vice Mayor, if you come up for a minute.
Mr. Mayor.
It's a very interesting take. I agree with both Councilor Rourke and Councilor Duran. Since I've been on the city council, we have asked National Grid many a times to come in and give us more information in writing. Councilor Rourke is not wrong. We had an opportunity with the representative here to ask questions, and the question is always, National Grid doesn't want to provide anything. And they come in here for a 5-minute sit down, boom, gone, but we really have nothing to reference for the questions beforehand. And even in the packet, it's just a pretty brief, boom, here's a short piece of paper that says nothing except location, bang, done. And I agree, Councilor Rourke, that having 300 pages for each one would put us over the edge, because we're going to kill a lot of trees, and it's counterproductive to what we're trying to do, save the earth on the other end. So we're going to kill trees to save the earth on the other end. I don't want to see Lawrence here. So as we start pushing off a lot of these problems with gas mains, Lawrence had a major problem with a gas main when they were down there. I don't want to see that either. And I don't want someone standing up to this microphone telling us how much they are an expert with gas mains who's never actually been an engineer or even engineered any of this. So I like the information piece, like Councilor Duran said, but I think that main replacement is a must right now, unless tomorrow morning we're going to say we're all done with gas mains and we're not going to allow any gas in the city. Are we really going to take a chance on not replacing these mains and having something happen at the same time on a repair? I've done water work my entire life. You go out, you put a Band-Aid on something, and 2 weeks later, down the street, the same water main breaks and you got the same problem, and then you're just chasing. And in our city, we have major problems with them even coming back at times, and the manager has pushed that for all the way through on the moratoriums and everything and trying to get them to help. So they're here right now, and it's hard to watch. I do agree that they keep pushing off information, and we need the information, as Vice Mayor Nuon has said. It seems like we just get slapped in the face. All we're asking for is the information. I will vote yes on this only because of the schools attached to it. We need to get that school up and running, but I hope National Grid is getting the feeling that we're not just going to keep doing this with them. They need to be held accountable. They do it with our road work. The trenches are awful that they leave. If you go on Middlesex Street, the road work is awful, and it's their patches. And in my opinion, anytime they cut a road, they should be responsible until that road is fully replaced. because they put the patch there. Not a 5-year case on a moratorium or anything. We should be starting to put policies in place. They cut in a road, they're responsible for the road just like we are when we pave it. And that's just my opinion, because we don't know what they're undermining all the way through. We need to get that in an ordinance here. If they're going to come to the city and they're going to do work, then they should be responsible for that patch until we replace that road. And that's fair. But I'm going to support this only because I agree with Councilor Rourke. At some point, we're kicking this can down the road. But Vice Mayor Nuon, I do agree that they keep slapping us in the face and telling us the way they're going to do it. Thank you. Anyone else on the motion? Roll call.
Counselor Nuon.
Nope.
Counselor Robinson.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
Counselor Scott.
Yes.
Counselor Chow.
Yes.
Counselor Dakota.
Yes.
Mayor Getchia.
Yes.
Counselor Duran.
No.
Counselor Liang.
No.
Counselor McDonough.
Nope.
Counselor Mercier.
Yes.
7 yeas, passes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. 4.13, Councilor Robinson requests the city manager to have the proper department review and provide any recommendations on carving out potential local regulations similar or in line with Senate Bill S. 3077, an act to enhance safe use of micromobility devices. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. Again, there's no policy carved out yet. I know this has hit the council discussion quite a bit, and it's governing more of the e-bikes and all those things. Hopefully they come up with some kind of policy that's realistic and enforceable, just to kind of put some kind of regulations in place, because again, I've seen great safe usage and I've seen some not so safe usage, so anything will help. Something to watch. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 4.14, Councilor Robinson requests the city manager have the proper department provide an update on the cemetery garage project. Seconded by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The pretty much motion speaks for itself. I know it's something that's been in the pipeline for a bit, so I'll look back for the update.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Scott.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask if we could take, suspend the rules and take 5.1B out of order.
Motion by Councilor Scott to take 5.1B out of order, seconded by Councilor Dakota. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Motion response, Boot Hydro relicensing FERC. Councilor Scott.
It's actually Councilor Durant's.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Duran. Yep.
Oh.
You took it out of order, so I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. I thank you for the motion response. And just wanting to understand a bit more about the city's role in the process. It sounds like we're engaged, but I wanted to make sure, because the outcome of this will matter a lot to our canals in particular, as I know the city manager knows. So canal water level and maintenance are key to the canal safety and structure. So I wanted to understand, it sounds like it might be 18 months before the next step of reports are done, and what happens in the meantime, and then what happens after the 18 months? I mean, are we in a holding pattern in the meantime? What happens to the canals in the meantime? What is Boot's obligation?
Manager Golden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Councilor, we have never really had the city in general has never had this great relationship with Enel or Boot or whomever it may be. But Mr. French is here from our law department, and he is actually in charge. He's the lead attorney on this, having these discussions. But I'm going to let him speak in a moment. But what we've tended to do is I speak with the superintendent over at National Parks on a very regular basis about this matter, and we like to stay pretty much in lockstep, trying to hold their feet to the fire. FERC is, quite frankly, partially maybe sometimes interested in what we have to say, But Mr. French, if you could
Oh, absolutely.
bring forward what you know and what has been happening, I'd appreciate it. Through you, Mr.
Very
Mayor.
much. So, the federal, sorry. So Boot Hydro has been working on this application since 2021. Right now, they have submitted, or this month they're supposed to submit that they are ready for environmental review. At that point, the FERC will review it. It will be open up for comment, and the city will have an opportunity to be involved in that process along with the other stakeholders. Generally speaking, it'll take 12 months to 18 months for the FERC to come out with their environmental analysis. Assuming that they have a finding of no significant outcome, then they'll issue a we'll have an opportunity to comment again before they finally submit the license. Parallel with this, they are also have to deal with Mass DEP, and Mass DEP has required them to have various plans, historical plans. They have a canal operation and maintenance plan, which hit 4 major points. Those are the canal water elevation, the flow, the trash, and the vegetation. And right now, Boot's proposed plan is that they will have a yearly meeting with stakeholders, including the city, UMass Lowell, the national parks, and that will allow the city to point out any issues that they have. There's going to be yearly visual inspections in the spring to look at vegetation, in the fall to look at trash, and their proposed plan has a 10-year period, after which all parties will sit down and propose any amendments.
Councilor Duran?
And so, for instance, in the annual, if the annual meetings and review of trash and everything and canal flow and water flow and elevation happen, and we find that it isn't appropriate, that the level is too low, the flow isn't strong enough, et cetera, what will happen? I mean, so we'll have an annual meeting, but do we have to sue them to get them to do anything? Is there an obligation contractually, which still might require a suit, but something, how will we be enforcing that the city gets what it needs to keep our canals in good stead?
Right, so this plan is part of their licensure, and it's a requirement from FERC, it's a requirement from Mass DEP, so we could be leaning on those agencies to help us enforce these should Boot Hydro not live up to its expectations. Now, I don't want to say, yep, we're going to sue them right away. What we're going to do is have open dialogue with them. We're going to point out issues, and we're going to try to work with them to make sure everybody's happy and that they've met their obligation.
Okay. That doesn't give me a whole lot of comfort. I'm very worried. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. Any other questions? Thank you, Attorney French.
Thank you very much.
Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Duran, seconded by Councilor Dakota. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Go back to the regular portion of the meeting. 4.15, Councilor Robinson requests the city manager work with the proper department and provide the council with a report on any means our first responders could voluntarily donate a day's pay that could be transferred to assist the recovery of firefighter Nick Spinelli in Chelmsford. Seconded by Councilor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I reached out to the manager briefly on this and looking to create a vehicle if the first responders would like to do this, give up a day's pay, still be required to come into work and perform. And it would just be to assist in any deductions, but I also think we need to take a hard look at a letter of support to any legislation that may have been filed, urging the state to do what they should do with the academies and provide that insurance or the coverage that's required, because it is not fair to put that burden on local communities that good enough to allow their employees to go out and perform training on state-sanctioned training facilities for other first responders, and now a situation like this happens. So, I mean, I think if there's any legislation that's been filed to try to encourage the state to act on this, I think a letter of support as well would be greatly appreciated. So if I could amend this motion to include that, as well as send off a letter of support to any legislation, local legislation that's been filed.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. Councilor Rourke? Okay, yep. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 4.16, Councilor Robinson requests the city manager work with the proper department to examine and report back to the council on the existing injury coverage policy surrounding our first responders and engagement at training facilities, as well as any recommendations. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Robinson.
Motion speaks for itself.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 4.17, Mayor, get your request. The city manager report back to the city council on the status of the solar panels at Lowell High School. Seconded by Councilor Robinson. Motion speaks for itself. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Councilor Chow, you notice I always look over at you when I say that? I didn't forget. 5, communications for the city manager. 5.1, motion response. Motion response A, CCTCI. Councilor Robinson.
Like that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Esposito and DPD for this report. Greatly appreciated. You know, anything we can do in this area, I think, is going to be vital. Looking at different funding pools and seeing how many funding pools are either drying up or being shifted to more of a burden on our residents. So greatly appreciated, and thank you very much for this report.
Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Scott. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 5.1, motion response C, National Grid appear-in-person installations of poles. Councilor Nuon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the next motion respond is there's a subcommittee, Technology and Utility Subcommittee. They're coming on May 26th, so, you know, and we can making sure that in the future any polling are coming before the council, you know. So I'm fine with it.
May 26th is the budget hearing.
May 26th. I see that in the report.
Yeah.
Next motion respond, if you looked at it.
We may have to move them.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, I'm happy.
Oh, subcommittee, I'm sorry, subcommittee, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the subcommittee, I mean.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
okay,
So
thank you.
it said here, the next motion respond, Mr.
Yep.
So, yeah, we
Thank
can have that discussion there.
Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor McDonough. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Motion response D, National Grid presentation to subcommittee. Councilor Duran, Liang, Nuon.
Yeah.
Anybody?
They're coming.
Councilor Liang. They're coming.
That's right. I mean, the meeting still stands, subcommittee meeting, May 26th, 5:30. Thank you.
It sounded like the British were coming. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Dakota. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 5.2, informational reports. Informational report, Mass Mills. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As folks can see here from Mullins Company, Massachusetts Mills, Riverwalk, and Brick Repair, they have been moving. We have been trying to hold them accountable. I know that Assistant City Manager Baez Rose, and I know that they've been holding them accountable. But hopefully, people can see on page 2 the breakdown as to what they've been doing in their timeframes. This is not make anyone exactly happy. This is taking a lot of time, but some of these buildings are, I wouldn't want anyone walking by there at this point in time getting themselves hurt. But we will continue to hold them accountable. I know we could get into insurances and everything else that is happening in that area, but Mr. Mullins, quite frankly, has taken on a building that, as I recall, over my 55 years of living here, it's been a challenge. He has committed to me in the past that he will not be going anywhere until he finishes the entire complex. So that's one heck of a commitment compared to what I remember how that looked in the 80s and the 90s. They have done a lot of work, but we should still hold them accountable. I hope that the informational is enough, but if anybody has any questions that I need to bring back to those folks, please let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councilor McDonough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Manager, and for getting the letter. And also, I do want to just kind of say publicly, I had a very long, thanks to the mayor for giving somebody my contact information. I had a very long conversation with Ms. Lesson and had the privilege of getting inside some of those old buildings, which are very cool. I will say, if you want me on your side on something, you bring me inside an old building and show me a real rundown water boiler. It goes wonders. But in addition to what's outlined in the report, just kind of for the edification of the rest of the council, also the public who's going to kick the crap out of me at the next neighborhood meeting for saying anything nice about Mullins right now, but I'm going to anyway. They are doing a lot of work. There's a lot of, those buildings are awful. Honestly, it is incredible that anybody wants to turn them into anything. There's a lot of moving parts for people at home who don't realize this. Between the national park, the state, and the city, the layers of red tape on what can and can't be built, what can and can't be knocked down, when something can be knocked down. You can't put any bracing because it's immediately on a river. There's a reason we don't let people build that close to rivers anymore, but those buildings are old. And so I would just say that there is a whole lot in place. The plan, as outlined, as well as the emergency plan and the second emergency plan for getting the Riverwalk open again, and the timelines, they make a lot of sense to me. I'm glad to hear that if funding falls through for them and they're not able to get their 30 units of housing on the inside, they do have contingencies in place to repair the facade so the Riverwalk can be open with a pretty hard timeline. So I think that's really great to see. So thank you to the manager for what you've done. Thank you to the mayor for getting me in touch with Ms. Lesson, and publicly thank you to Ms. Lesson and the rest of the team at Mullins, who really is trying their best with a pretty crap building.
Thank you, Councilor McDonough. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Duran, seconded by Councilor Chow. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 5.2 Informational Report, Arbor Day Foundation Award, April 1st, 2026. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Once again, three to the council. Councilors, this was a pleasant surprise. I know that this council has been very excited in working with the tree canopies and the heat islands and things that we've been going forward, especially with the tree committee that I know will be coming to us fairly soon. So the fact that we were notified just in the beginning of April that the Arbor Day Foundation is something that is seeing us as a leader, I think that in years to come, with our tree committee coming, like I said, in just a few weeks, next year will even be better. So I think it's important to be recognized by outside folks, the Arbor Day Foundation, and this continues a positive momentum here for the city of Lowell. If there's any questions, we can absolutely call them, but I would hope that 2020, in the future, the 2026, the Tree USA recognition from Arbor Day Foundation will even be won't even be in question, considering what we're trying to accomplish. So, congratulations to the council for pushing this.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councilor Duran.
Thank you very much. I looked at the Arbor Day website, and Lowell has received the Tree City Award for 28 years. And it has received the Growth Award for 2 years, which means that it has demonstrated a higher level of tree care and community engagement than other cities. 252 trees were planted in the city, according to the Arbor Day site. And so we're in good stead among the 3,600 tree cities in the U.S. I think a press release about this would be great marketing for the city, because we have so many things to celebrate. Frontrunner City and Learning City, and now and Tree City again, apparently. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I remember Jane Calvin would have the 2,000 for the year 2000 trees for the year 2000. But let me just add a little something here, because to me, there's nothing more beautiful than a tree. And I remember going in grammar school when we learned a very nice poem by Joyce Kilmer. Joyce Kilmer is a man, although the name is Joyce. And he wrote, "I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair." And I could go on, but I won't. But it says at the end, "Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree." And I thought that was so beautiful. Let me tell you about this Joyce Kilmer who wrote that beautiful tree poem. He was a journalist and a soldier. He fought in World War I in 1918, and he was killed at 31 years old. I just thought I would add that. So he did write a beautiful poem. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercier. Jane Calvin has done amazing work in the city, and I can't thank her enough. This body has pushed for this tree committee for some time, and it's almost here, so at the speed of government. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. And this is going to also be incorporated into as we begin to put back the pieces over in our Lower Centerville with that CSO work, correct? Whatever designs and bump outs that have been in the plans, we'll be planting again. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Robinson, and thank you, Manager Golden and your staff for continuing to push this. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Nuon, seconded by Councilor Robinson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 6, votes from the city manager. 6.1, vote, accept timely submission of the budget, waive full reading and second reading by title. Vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 32. The City Council of the City of Lowell acknowledges timely receipt of the city manager on May 12th, 2026 of the recommended budget for the City of Lowell for fiscal year 2027. Motion to adopt by Councilor Scott, seconded by Councilor Rook. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilor Nuon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Mayor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Duran.
Yes.
Councilor Liang.
Yes.
Councilor McDonough.
Yes.
Councilor Mercier.
Yes.
Could we put in the last 4?
We have a registered speaker, so,
Oh, yeah.
sorry. 6.2, vote FY 2027 budget approval appropriation order. Give first reading. Motion to refer to public hearing on May 26th, 2026 at 7 p.m. by Councilor Nuon, seconded by Councilor McDonough.
There is a registered speaker, Mr. Mayor. Monica Lundberg. He's going to a public hearing.
Good evening. My name is Monica Lundberg. I'm a Lowell homeowner at 12 Alyssa Drive and a parent of a Lowell Public School student. I am here again to urge you to fund our schools equitably. I understand that budgets are tight. It's a conversation every year, isn't it? Costs increase faster than revenue. I'm not here to ask you to work miracles. I'm here to remind you that a budget is a moral document. We fund what we value. I've spent a great deal of time over the last several weeks going through Lowell's budgets over the last decade. And the picture that has emerged has me asking, does Lowell still value public education? Most of our school funding comes from state aid, but Lowell's required to contribute general funds as well. Let's look at that. This graph shows Lowell General Fund education spending from fiscal year 2015 through fiscal year 27. The blue line shows the minimum required local contribution, what the state says that is the bare minimum Lowell must spend to meet our students' constitutional right to an education. Notice that since fiscal year 2021, Lowell has not spent much more than the minimum. What happened then? The pandemic, of course, but also the implementation of the Student Opportunity Act. The SOA was supposed to give our students more opportunities From where I stand, it looks like Lowell has taken that boost in Chapter 70 funds as an excuse to contribute less of our own funds to the schools. Now, last year I came before this body and said basically the same thing, just without the graph. I'd like to address some of the arguments I've heard about why we can't give the schools more cash funding. First is the argument that because fixed costs continue to rise, other city departments need their budgets to increase. I would like to point out again that that is also true of the school department. All departments have contracts they are beholden to, but only one department is asked to maintain those with so little investment from our city. Of the largest departments by expenditures in the city, only one has received less investment from the city cumulatively, and that's our public schools. The public schools, city cash is this line here. Police, fire, DPW, the two orange ones are the city manager, because there's been changes in which categories are included in that. And then those are some of the others. For time, I will not go through every single one. Look at the difference between the cuts the school department has endured compared to the police department. And I also have one that shows of the top 6 by expenditures departments, the difference in year-to-year percent change. Look how many cuts the school department has. Colors are the same as the other one. This is police. This is fire, DPW, MIS, city manager.
Ms. Lundberg, you're at your 3 minutes.
I have more if you'd like to talk to me later. And I will also say just quickly that I know that probably most of you have an argument forming right now about what about chargebacks. And if I can just show this briefly. That green line, that's our chargebacks. All those are different DESI categories for the chargebacks in net school spending. The green line is the one that includes charter schools. Now, I met with my legislatures last week and showed them that graph. And they said they haven't heard from any of you about education funding. So I'm here to ask you a few things. Number one, get in touch with the legislature. Use your pull on Beacon Hill and advocate for charter school funding reform and more funds for our schools so that that's not such a huge burden. Number two, look at how we're funding different departments. Look at the equity. Because right now, I'm not seeing it. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 6.3 vote, accept, expend $467,917 Criminal Justice Response Program Grant, LPD, waive full reading and second reading by title. Vote, authorize the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept and expend a grant from the Office on Violence Against Women regarding the FY 2025 Improving Criminal Justice Response to Domestic Violence, Dating Violence, Sexual Assault, and Stalking Grant Program awarded in the amount of $467,917 over the 3-year period for the use by the City of Lowell Police Department.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Nuon. Roll call.
Councilor Nuon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Dakota.
Yes.
Mayor Gitchia.
Yes.
Councilor Duran.
Yes.
Councilor Liang.
Yes.
Councilor McDonough.
Yes.
Councilor Mercier.
Yes.
11 ayes.
6.4 vote, approve amendment to special permit. Give first reading. Motion to refer to the public hearing on June 16th, 2026 at 7 p.m. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? So ordered. I'm sorry. Councilor Robinson, Councilor Nuon. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 6.5 vote, declare 9 Mill Street Court surplus and available for sale. Waive full reading and second reading by title. Vote declaring surplus property located at 9 Mill Street Court, Lowell, Mass., and authorizing the city manager to seek proposals under the yard sale program adopted by the City Council on June 9th, 1998 for 9 Mill Street, Lowell, Mass. Motion to adopt by Councilor Dakota, seconded by Councilor Duran. Roll call.
Counsel Nuon.
Yes.
Counsel Robinson.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Scott.
Yes.
Counsel Chow.
Yes.
Counsel Dakota.
Yes.
Mayor Getchia.
Yes.
Counsel Duran.
Yes.
Counsel Liang.
Yes.
Counsel McDonough.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. 7, orders from the city manager. 7.1, order 2027 capital plan loan order. Give first reading. Motion to refer to public hearing on May 26, 2026 at 7 p.m. by Councilor Dakota, seconded by Councilor McDonough. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered.
Aye.
7.2.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
I just have a quick question through you to the manager. On the park open space improvements, $220K for athletic field irrigation system replacement, which park's that? Carly? Alumni?
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council. That is for Shed and Alumni.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. 7.2, order parking capital improvement loan order. Give first reading. Motion to refer to public hearing on May 26, 2026 at 7 p.m. by Councilor Mercier, seconded by Councilor Chow. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 8, ordinances from the city manager. 8.1, ordinance amend Chapter 50 and 81, water and sewer. Give first reading. Motion to refer to a public hearing on May 26, 2026 at 7 p.m. by Councilor Nuon, seconded by Councilor Scott. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 8.2, ordinance amend sewer rate FY27. Give first reading. Motion to refer to public hearing on May 26, 2026 at 7 p.m. by Councilor Scott, seconded by Councilor Rourke. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 8.3, ordinance amend water rate FY27. Give first reading. Motion to refer to a public hearing on May 26, 2026 at 7 p.m. by Councilor McDonough, seconded by Councilor Liang. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 9, constable bonds. 9.1, communication. City manager requests approval of Robert Ahern Jr. constable bond. Motion to adopt by Councilor Duran, seconded by Councilor McDonough. Roll call.
Counsel Nuon.
Yes.
Counsel Robinson.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Scott.
Yes.
Counsel Chow.
Yes.
Counsel Dakota.
Yes.
Mayor Getchia.
Yes.
Counsel Duran.
Yes.
Counsel Liang.
Yes.
Counsel McDonough.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
11 yeas.
10, reports. 10.2, auditor clerk oversight and personnel subcommittee, May 12th, 2026. Councilor Duran, you want to hold off till next week?
That's fine, yeah.
Thank you. 11, petitions. 11.1, miscellaneous. Amigos Convenience Store, Samuel Carvello, request installation of a 15-minute parking sign at 994 Central Street. Motion to refer to transportation engineer for report and recommendation by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Nuon. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. 11.2, miscellaneous. Nancy Valdez requests installation of a handicap parking sign at 168 High Street. Motion to refer to transportation engineer for report and recommendation by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor McDonough. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. Announcements. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, the ribbon cutting that was scheduled for Monday, May 18th, has been postponed for the O'Donnell Park, and the playground is also closed. There are outstanding issues that arose that require additional review and follow-up work. So they'll be in touch to reschedule that when we're completed.
Thank you, Councilor Scott. Councilor Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Pollard Memorial Library Foundation holds an Eleanor Lippman Award for writing each year, and the deadline for submissions is May 30th. So Lowell residents or current students at UMass Lowell or Middlesex Community College are able to submit. They should look at lowelllibrary.org for more information, but I just wanted to let them know because the deadline is coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duran. Councilor Chow?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick announcement. We're going to have a meeting and ribbon cutting ceremony at the Calvary Park Saturday, May 16. It's this Saturday, actually, from noon to 3 o'clock.
Thank you, Councilor Chow. Councilor McDonough?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 15th, the Happy to Chat bench, I'm very happy to chat. On the 15th, which is this week, the Happy to Chat bench is officially launching at the Leo Roy Garage. I know the folks over at the Council on Aging and the several other groups with acronyms affiliated with trying to get this thing across the finish line. Thanks to them. Thank you to you and your team. And hopefully we'll see some of you guys at the Leo Roy at 11 a.m. on the 15th for launching this bench. I'm excited.
Thank you, Councilor McDonough. Motion
Mr. Mayor, could we get a list of all the things that are happening? She has something this one. I don't know. There's something going on Saturday here at 9 o'clock in the mayor's reception room as well, right? A picture or something.
There's a picture of all the past and current elected officials in the city on Saturday at 9:30 a.m.
And future?
Past and future. If you want to be in, you're in.
Future?
And current. Past and current.
Oh, current. Okay, I thought you said future.
I'm hoping you're going to be a
Psychic?
future one. Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I unfortunately won't be here Saturday. My daughter Haley is graduating, getting her master's from Salem State in education, so very proud about that. And I think my wife April got the best gift, a birthday gift tonight. Today's her birthday, and I was not there at the house to celebrate. So happy birthday to my wife April. And Mr. Mayor, I wish you would have caught our conversation right before the meeting tonight. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Rourke, we could talk about it after with the manager. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Duran, seconded by Councilor Mercier. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Scott.
I was just going to, I'll be in trouble if I don't say it now that he just did. My daughter's graduating from college with her bachelor's degree from Simmons on Friday, so congratulations to Erin.
My wish for all of you is that you don't have heavy bills with this. Manager Golden, I can only imagine what those bills are like. Manager Golden?
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. After 16 long years of paying for my daughter, she'll be graduating UMass Lowell Nursing. So we're very excited about that as well. And my apologies if anybody heard me just yell a moment ago. Councilor Robinson, I just poked myself with a pin and I'm bleeding. So maybe the nurse can help me out. So I apologize if anybody heard.
Councilor Scott, the one thing that those two have in common is look at their hair. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Duran, seconded by Councilor Mercier. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered. I didn't see Kim. I looked again.